People's personal unsolved mysteries. One morning at 4:40 a.m., this man received a call from a blocked phone number. And when he answered, all he heard was the person on the other end repeating, "Car won't start. Car won't start," over and over again. Well, he hung up, and since he works at 5:30 in the morning, he decided to stay awake. He didn't think much of it until he was leaving for work, got in his truck, and you guessed it, the car wouldn't start. It could have been a prank, or somebody he knew messing with him. But he says it still gives him a weird feeling. To this day, nobody knows who made that call. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. At this one kid's school, there was a kid that was pretty good at cooking. So he would cook a bunch of food at home, bring it to school, and sell it to kids in the morning. It was like breakfast sandwiches, delicious biscuits, stuff like that. And he was making bank. Eventually, he was making so much money and the demand for his food was so high, he had to hire people to work for him. The people he hired were also pretty good at cooking. So they would cook stuff at their house and they would bring it to school as well to sell. And business was still booming. However, something happened that tore this business down. Apparently, one of the kids they hired lost his mind, and he decided to make a bunch of waffles with laxatives in them. The next day, he brought those waffles into school and gave them away for free. Well, later that day, people began to have severe diarrhea throughout the school. The teachers caught on, and they learned all about this business. All the kids who were selling the food got suspended, but the kid that put the laxatives in the waffles was expelled, and no one ever heard from him again. People's personal unsolved mysteries. In college, this guy woke up at 3 a.m. with a feeling that he was being watched. Well, he was. A man with a backpack was standing right by his bed, staring at him. He thought it was his friend, so he said his friend's name. But the mysterious man didn't answer. He then suddenly grabbed a $10 bill that was sitting on the nightstand. He looked at it and ran out the door. He had put that $10 there right before he went to bed. But what concerns him is that in order for this guy to get to his room, he had to walk past 5 other rooms and a kitchen lobby area where the people on the floor kept their laptops. But he only took the $10 bill. He said this happened over 7 years ago, and it still haunts him to this day. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. This kid's got a pretty strong stomach, so in middle school he had a business idea. Every day at lunch, he would have a milk from the cafeteria in front of him, and people could add anything they want to the milk, and he would drink it. It was $1 to add a basic item to the milk, like raisins. But the crazier the stuff got, the more expensive it got. So for example, if someone wanted to put Vegemite in the milk, it would cost $5. This kid was drinking nasty milk combinations every single day. And business was booming. Kids loved watching him drink this stuff. He did this a couple times a week throughout the year. And in total, he made $350. Nice. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. Every day, this kid wakes up at 5:30 in the morning and goes to Dunkin' Donuts, where he buys 2 or 3 dozen donuts every morning. He brings these donuts to school, and during lunch, when him and his friends are sitting at their table, masses of people will come running to him, asking for a donut. And he sells kids donuts. $5 for one, which is absurd. But for whatever reason, these kids are spending $5 a donut every single day. And he always sells out. No one's ever snitched on him, and this business is still running. He's made a couple $100. Weird things kids did in school. This one teacher shared her story. She teaches 4th grade, and one day she was having all of her students clean out their desks. While the kids were cleaning, she noticed one of them having a tough time and acting kind of suspicious. So she went over there, and it turns out this kid had been collecting snails from outside, putting them in his desk and trying to breed them. I guess he'd been doing this for a few weeks. The snails ate through all of his workbooks, papers, and were trying to escape to other kids' desks. She said it was a nightmare. Worst things people did as kids. One day after middle school, he had gotten home, and there was a couple hours before his parents came home, so he wanted to make himself a snack and watch TV. He boiled some water, threw some hot dogs in there, and sat on the couch. That's when he got a phone call from his friend. His friend asked him if he wanted to come over for a little bit. He said sure, so he left. But he forgot about the hot dogs on the stove. When he got back home, he realized he forgot about the hot dogs, so he turned the stove off. But then he noticed that his mom's beloved parakeet she had for years, which was in the kitchen, was lying dead. Turns out the Teflon from the pan releases a poisonous gas that's lethal to birds. He killed his mom's bird. When his mom came home, she saw the dead bird, immediately started sobbing and went up to her room. She didn't come out for 3 days. This is a life hack that you need to know about. Okay, so I used my friend's HBO Max account. I was trying to watch the Euphoria finale, and then I realized he changed his password, which is kind of annoying, but then I came across this. Listen up. Type downloader.world in your browser. It'll bring you right here. Download the app, and when you open it up, if the movies and TV shows don't show up right away, type 777 in the search bar. And bingo, tons of movies and TV shows you can watch immediately. There's Euphoria. Do what you will with this information, but it was a lifesaver for me. Black markets kids ran in their schools. The swim team at this girl's high school was having a fundraiser. They were selling lollipops to raise money for new equipment, gear, and to fix stuff around the pool. Well, this girl had an idea. She figured out where you could buy the same lollipops online, and she discovered that they were super cheap. So that's what she did. She ordered a bunch of boxes of them, took them to school, and sold her lollipops for just a little less than the swim team was selling theirs. Business was absolutely booming. Everyone was buying her lollipops, and nobody was buying the swim team's. She made absolute bank. And unfortunately, the swim team barely sold any, so they couldn't get any of the new equipment or gear they wanted to. But that's business, baby. Black markets kids ran in their schools. The cafeteria at this kid's school was absolutely terrible, and he thought that his peers deserved better. So one day he went home, told his mom what he was thinking, and she had an idea. She started making tons of Cuban sandwiches every day. She would give them to her son, he would take them to school and sell them during lunch. And apparently these sandwiches were amazing. Kids would stop buying cafeteria food. Instead, they would line up in front of his lunch table and buy the Cuban sandwiches. He became a hero around the school, and he made a couple $100. He split everything he earned with his mom. Terrible things people did as kids. When this guy was in middle school, he had an obsession with fire. But one day he was home alone, so he grabbed some cardboard boxes and trash and went outside to the family's fire pit. Keep in mind, it was a pretty deep fire pit. He threw all the stuff in there, grabbed lighter fluid from his dad's grill, doused the garbage, and lit it on fire. And up the flames went. Completely satisfied, he sat back and watched the fire blaze, until suddenly, a strange-looking fireball jumped out of the fire pit and started running towards the woods. Turns out there was a raccoon in the fire pit, and when it caught on fire, it tried to make the grand escape. Well, when it got to the woods, it ended up burning a few trees down. But sadly, the raccoon didn't make it. Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. One day when he was in preschool, it was nap time, and he was laying awake in his cot playing with his sleeping bag because he had trouble falling asleep. But he wasn't disrupting anybody. Well, his teacher came over to him, crouched down, and whisper yelled at him, telling him that he needed to go to sleep. When he said he couldn't, she dug her nails under his chin and told him that if he didn't fall asleep, he would have to go to the principal's office. He got in trouble for not being able to fall asleep. That ain't right. Black markets kids ran in their schools a follower submission. When this kid was a junior in high school, finals were coming up, and he got pretty solid grades. Well, one day, two of his friends asked if they could borrow his notes and study guides for the hardest classes, and he gave it to them, and they were incredibly helpful. Well, word spread about how helpful they were, and by the time finals came around again, everybody was wanting his notes and study guides. So him and two other friends of his who were also very smart decided to pool all their notes and study guides together. They scanned them into a Google Drive folder and would sell access to them based on how hard the class was. Prices were $5 for basic classes, $7 for honors classes, and $10 for AP classes. Business was booming. He checked his old spreadsheet for me, and in total they made $627. So they each walked away with $209. His math teacher heard about it after the school year was over, and he said, "Pretty sweet gig with the study guides, huh?" Then they agreed that it never happened. Markets kids ran in their schools. Followers sent me this story about her brother. When he was in 7th grade, him and his friends were working a garage sale for one of the friends' grandpas. When the day was done, the grandpa said they can take anything they wanted from the garage sale to keep. Well, this dude picked a George Foreman grill. He decided he was going to start taking it to school. He would then use that grill every day to toast his sandwiches at lunch. And then he started doing it for his friends. And after a few weeks, everybody wanted their sandwiches toasted. So he had an idea. He would charge people $1 to toast their normal sandwich. So kids would come to lunch with their ordinary cold sandwich, give him $1, and he would toast it. Business was booming. Until one day his dad got a call from the school office saying he needs to come in. When he got there, he saw his son sitting in a chair with the grill on his lap. The principal said he could not be doing this anymore and the George Foreman grill had to stay at home. Well, his dad challenged them. He asked them, where in the handbook does it say students can't grill sandwiches at lunch using a George Foreman grill? And they couldn't find it. So he was allowed to keep the grill at school. He made about $1,000. Until the next year, in the handbook, it said students can't toast sandwiches in a George Foreman grill. This kid's a legend. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. When he was a freshman in high school, he noticed you could buy one 6-pack of Kool-Aid Bursts for just $1 at Walmart. So he had an idea. He was going to buy a bunch of 6-packs, freeze them overnight, and bring them to school. He would then sell them for $1 a bottle. So he would buy one 6-pack for $1, sell all 6, and make $5 profit. Business was booming. Before long, he was bringing in 36 6-packs of Kool-Aid Bursts every day, and he was selling out. During his freshman year, he made about $5,000. Until one day during lunch, he was doing his business. It was busy. Everyone was thirsty and they wanted Kool-Aid. Well, he ran out and went back to the football locker room to pick up more. Somebody followed him, and they found out exactly what he was doing. When they got back to the lunchroom, he was busted. They had all of his inventory and money stacked on a table like it was a scene from Narcos. He was then escorted by school staff to the principal's office. As he was walking out, however, students booed and screamed and caused a riot because they wanted their freaking Kool-Aid, and he didn't do anything wrong. He was then suspended. To this day, people call him Juice. He is now an entrepreneur and owns a few small businesses. Weirdest products ever sold. This is a nose stylus, and it was invented to make multitasking more effective. These are flip-flop metal detectors. It makes a loud noise when you're walking over something made of metal. Honestly, that's pretty sick. This one is a finger fork. And honestly, it's pretty self-explanatory. Finger, fork, finger fork. This one's weird. It's a hamster-powered paper shredder. You put the paper in the top, a hamster runs on the wheel, and it shreds the paper the hamster will then use as bedding. This last one's super weird but kinda cool. Really quick, I found an app that lets you go live even if you have 0 followers. Tons of people have gotten famous from this app. Go right here if you want to get it. This is a cutting board bread feeder. You can see there are holes in the cutting board, so when you're cutting bread or other snacks, the crumbs fall down and into this tube, which then leads to the bird's food dish. I actually kinda like this one. Black markets kids ran in their schools. At this kid's school, there was a girl that would carry around a box of stationery every day. Her business was that she would write forged letters from parents. She had all different papers, pens, and pencils of every kind. And if kids wanted to leave school early, they would go to her, and she would write a note from their parents. Well, these notes were incredibly convincing. She used different styles of handwriting, different styles of punctuation. She could even write notes in different languages. She made absolute bank. The teachers never caught on, but this kid grew up incredibly educated, and today she's incredibly successful. Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. When he was in 5th grade, his teacher was making his entire class write Mother's Day cards. Well, he's been at this school for 6 years, and everyone knows that his mom walked out on him and his dad years ago. Well, I guess the teacher forgot, because when he refused to write a Mother's Day card, she got incredibly mad, and this kid was suspended. Secret rooms with scary backstories. A man bought a new house. He discovered a hidden door on the floor of his pantry. He went down there and found this room with a desk, a working light, and an ashtray. Here's a similar story. A group of college students lived in a house on campus. They were convinced the house was haunted because cabinet doors were left open and they were hearing strange noises at night. And behind a secret door in the basement, they found this room. There was a double bed, student textbooks, and photographs, all belonging to somebody named Jeremy. They changed the locks in the house and left Jeremy a note outside saying he's no longer able to live there. Now this last one's very creepy, but before I show you it, I found this app that shows you everybody that goes and lurks on your social media profiles. There's even a section that tells you who they think your crush is. If you want to find out who your crush is, go right here. And this one. One day they found this room and it looked like somebody had been living in there. There was bed sheets, blankets, freshly opened snacks, and every single item the family had go missing. Your umbrella might be trying to leave you. A homeowner's security camera caught an open umbrella outside their house during a rainstorm, and the video shows this umbrella standing up and walking away. Was it the wind or something more? Watch the video. Black markets kids ran in their schools. Another follower submission. When she was in 7th grade, her dad was the janitor of the middle school, and the school's policy was if he had to clean up a really bad mess in the bathroom, he would get paid double for that day. Well, his daughter had a brilliant idea. You see, her grandpa had some digestive issues, so one day she went to her grandparents' house and stole tons of boxes of chocolate laxatives. She would then take these chocolates to school and sell them to kids before lunch every day for 50 cents a chocolate bar. She was selling out every single day, and everyone just thought that they were regular chocolate bars. Let's just say after she started this business, her dad's paychecks got a whole lot bigger. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. When he was in middle school, there was a thing called late bus passes. If your bus was late, you'd get this little yellow pass that would allow you to go into class late without an absence. Well, one day, this kid realized that one of his teachers had a stack of late bus passes on her desk, and when she wasn't looking, he took all of them. He would sell them to kids for $1 each, and this pass allowed kids to skip the first class of the day without an absence. In total, he made $500, but things started catching up to him. The teachers were getting suspicious, and one kid snitched to the principal, and everything was shut down. Craziest ways people got rich. Dong Nguyen is an app developer. and he had a couple games on the App Store. Well, in May of 2013, he uploaded a new game to the App Store, Flappy Bird. I'm sure you've all played this game before. He uploaded Flappy Bird to the App Store, and for a few months, it didn't get a lot of attention at all. Till one day, Dong Nguyen saw a tweet, and all the tweet said was, Flappy Bird. And just like that, word of the game spread. It started getting more and more downloads, and more people were leaving reviews and tweeting stuff about how hard and addicting the game is. By the end of December that year, it was number 80 on the App Store. And then in January, it was number 1. He was making $50,000 a day from the ads that popped up in the game. But then he started getting incredibly depressed. He was constantly getting calls for interviews. People were tweeting at him because the game was too hard. Some people even mailed him death threats. Eventually, he got to his breaking point, and he took the game off the App Store. He must have made bank because $50,000 a day is insane. Craziest ways, people made a lot of money. In 2001, a man named Byron Reese secured a North Pole address in Alaska. He then launched a website called SantaMail.org. This website allowed parents to get Christmas cards from Santa mailed to their children. Business was frickin' booming. And in 4 years, their sales reached over $1 million.
Worst toy designs of all time, part 4. This one is a Buzz Lightyear water bottle. And I just want to know who made this, because they definitely could have put the straw in a better place.
Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. One day, this one kid, let's call him Ben, he brought his holographic Charizard Pokemon card to class to show it off and to brag a little. Well, when he wasn't looking, another kid in his class, let's call him Kyle, stole the card from Ben and then raised his hand and told the teacher that he caught Ben stealing the card out of his backpack. Ben's like, dude, what the heck, that's my card. But the teacher didn't believe Ben. The teacher said, that can't be your card because your family is too poor to buy you toys. That's just not right. Black markets kids ran in their schools. In elementary school, there was this girl named Danielle that convinced a bunch of kids that she could forever change the taste of saliva in their mouths. She said she could make their saliva taste like watermelon, cotton candy, bubble gum, forever. And naturally, everybody thought that was awesome. So what she would do is she would make these people wait a couple days so they could really decide on what flavor they want their saliva to taste like. Anyways, after a couple days, these kids would come back to her with the flavor they decided on. And that's when she would charge them $1. They would give her the money, and she would make them chew on things like paper clips, erasers, pencil tips, and cardboard. And all these kids would do it. Well, obviously, nobody's saliva changed flavors. She was eventually found out and was forced to stop for obvious reasons. But she made around $25 doing this. That's insane. Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. When this kid was in junior high, they had circle-shaped hallways where all the lockers were. Well, the school administration was pretty whack, and they decided that students would only be allowed to walk clockwise around the hallway. Well, this kid's homeroom class was right next to his locker. But the problem was, his class was right here, and his locker was about 6 feet away counterclockwise. He never thought it was a big deal, so every day after homeroom, he would walk counterclockwise to his locker to get his stuff for his next class. Well, the teachers and school staff caught on, and he was eventually suspended for disrespecting the one-way rule too many times. What? Black markets kids ran in their schools. This is a quick one, but it makes me very mad. When this kid was in 6th grade, there was a teacher that started selling candy to students in between classes. How nice, right? Well, one kid thought that the teacher's prices for candy were way too high, so he had an idea. He went out and bought the same type of candy the teacher was selling. He bagged it up and brought it to school, where he sold it to students for way less than the teacher was charging for her candy. And as you guessed it, business was frickin' booming, and people loved him for it. Eventually, the candy-selling teacher got mad. She went to the school principal, and they put an end to all candy sales. What a salty woman. So she can sell, but he can't? Shame. Black markets kids ran in their schools. This kid's high school had an internet filter, meaning there were tons of websites you couldn't access. Well, his friend had an idea to get around this. I'm not sure all the details, but he set up a free BSD server in his basement and put together a bunch of flash drives with Firefox on the flash drive. And the thing with this is that Firefox could run directly in the flash drive without having to install it to the computer. People were able to go to any website they want. And these flash drives were flying off the shelves. He charged $25 per flash drive. Kids would go to the library library, set it up, browse whatever they wanted on the internet. People would see, ask how they're doing this, and that's how the word spread. Black markets kids ran in their schools. Follower submission. When this kid was in middle school, him and another kid were into martial arts. They wanted to start a business. There were other kids that they knew that did kickboxing. So this was their idea. They started a fighting ring in the bathroom every day after recess. He said that their fighting ring had similar rules to UFC. So like I said, every day after recess in the bathroom, they had fighting matches and people could come and watch. They charged people $15 to watch a 10-minute fight. Once they collected the money of everyone that wanted to watch a fight that day, they would close and lock the bathroom doors. So the kids that didn't pay couldn't get in. Luckily, this kid said that nobody was seriously injured during these bathroom fights. Just some occasional bruises and soreness. Well, one day somebody snitched and him and 3 other people got suspended. They made bank, and after the fighters got their cut, this kid walked away with $400. Black markets kids ran in their schools, a follower submission. He started his business in middle school. He would buy a bunch of snacks, keep them at his house, and every day bring snacks to school in his backpack. And when lunch started, he would go to a lunch table, lay out all the product, and people would come up to him and buy stuff from him. Business was frickin' booming. He started making $60 a day, and then that turned into $90 a day. Here's some pictures of money his customers gave him. He was nicknamed the Candy Man. One day, a teacher saw a bunch of students looking at his bag. She came up to him, asked him what was in it, and before he could answer, she had already dumped everything out and saw bags of Takis, money, and candy. She took him to the principal's office. He got a 3-day suspension. Black markets kids ran in their schools, a follower submission. So a little backstory here. At this kid's school, there's a cafe that's open 24/7 all frickin' day. You can buy drinks, snacks, candy, even pizza at this cafe. Well, this guy has 2 study halls. Most people have 1. So he basically runs a DoorDash type service for other students in the school. When he's in his study hall, kids would text him an order of something they wanted from the cafe. He would go get it, buy it, and then the person that ordered the food would ask the teacher of their class if they can go to the bathroom or get a sip of water. Our guy would meet them by their class and they would exchange the money for the food. Business was frickin' booming. He charged a couple extra dollars than the food actually cost. So say if a candy bar was $1, it would cost somebody $3 to get it. But people didn't care. Having snacks and food delivered to them was worth it. He's still running this business. So far, he's made a couple $100. Nice. The dumbest things people got in trouble for in school. When this person was in 4th grade, her teacher had a reward system where if you didn't disobey or break any rules, you could pick out a gift from something called the goodie bag. And she was always a teacher's pet, so she loved the goodie bag. Well, she said that one day in class, one of her peers started crying and getting upset in front of everybody. Well, she felt bad for her classmate, so she got up and walked over to her to help her feel better. The teacher didn't like that. She said she was wrong to move without asking her. And that week, she wasn't able to get a prize from the goodie bag. Dumbest reasons people got in trouble at school. When this person was in 5th grade, he got bullied a lot by his classmates and his teacher. Well, one day in class, he was just playing around with his pencil, kind of bending it and tapping it on the table, and it accidentally snapped. But the thing is, the snap was very loud. The teacher just glared at him and said, "Why did you do that?" He told her it was an accident. But she made him write a note to his parents telling them what he did. He had to title the note, 25 Reasons Why Pencils Are Good, and his parents had to sign it.
Send this video to somebody that loves cats. Hi, I'm going to show you a video, and I want you to put yourself in this situation. Say you haven't been able to find your cat for an hour, and you're looking around and you finally check under the couch and you see this. Would you be concerned? My favorite comebacks, part 5. Let's dive right in. Here it is.
Hey yo, Kyle. What's up? Just so you know, nobody likes you, bro. You're freaking weird. Do you eat your cereal with water? No, why would I do that? That's interesting, because I heard your dad never came home with the milk. You better
Black markets kids used to run in their schools, part 2. Somebody posted about this that happened at their old elementary school. Apparently, these kids were selling their parents' jewelry for ice cream money. For example, one kid took his grandma's engagement ring, brought it to school, and sold it for 50 cents, and then used that 50 cents to buy ice cream.
Black markets kids ran in their schools. At this one kid's high school, there was a kid that would always wear black. He kind of had a gothic type style. He looks like the quiet kid, if you know what I mean. He always carried around a giant duffel bag. Nobody really knew why he carried it around, and people were scared of him. Till one day at lunch, a student saw this kid open his duffel bag. And inside of it, there were 3 12-packs of canned soda, Coke, Sprite, and Voltage Mountain Dew. Turns out, this kid was just selling goods. He would sell that soda every single day, and he would pretty much sell out. And when more people realized that it was only soda in the duffel bag, his business grew even bigger. When he ran out of soda, he restocked and sold more. One kid found out later that the reason that he was doing this was because his family was struggling with homelessness, and this business he ran in school was to help his family buy food. Mad respect. Black markets kids ran in their schools. At one middle school, whenever somebody had a roll of Smarties, they would crush it up and pretend to smoke it. Because when the Smarties are crushed up, the powder blows out and it looks like smoke. Well, this kid had an idea. He went to the store and he bought packs and packs of Smarties. He brought it to school with a wooden hammer in his backpack as well, and he would sell them to students for $1 each. People would give him $1, he would pull out the Smarties, smash it with his hammer, and give it to them. When I say business was booming, I mean business was booming. Until pretty much the whole school was inhaling and exhaling Smartie dust in the hallways. The teachers didn't like it, and they banned Smarties altogether. Overall, this kid made around $300.
How to know if someone is staring at you. Have you ever been in class or some public place and just felt like somebody was staring at you? Do this. Yawn as big as you can and then look around. Yawning is contagious, so if you yawn while someone's staring at you, they will yawn as well. This is how it would go down.
What? Keep your eyes to yourself, bitch.
Black markets kids used to run in their schools, part 1. A teacher posted this story on the internet. At the school she used to teach at, the cafeteria did not season any food, so everything tasted bland. Well, one kid got a brilliant idea. He would buy bags of salt and pepper packets and sell them to kids in the cafeteria. He charged 50 cents for 1 salt and 1 pepper and made hundreds of dollars in his first month. But then the school shut him down, and kids went back to eating bland cafeteria food. Black markets kids ran in their schools, part 19. This one was sent in by a follower. When he was in school, they got rid of all the junk food in the vending machines, and they only had healthy snacks. So he started buying tons of junk food and sodas. He would fill his backpack up with snacks and a duffel bag up with sodas that were ice cold. And every morning he would almost sell out. He was making about $100 a day for an entire semester. He even sold to some teachers as well, but one teacher didn't like what he was doing. She snitched on him, and the whole operation got shut down. Pictures that don't have an explanation. Here is a tire around a tree, but the biggest question is, how did that tire get there? You can't simply just pull it up. Weird. This picture was taken of a family at dinner, and at the time, these 4 were the only people in the picture. But after the photo was developed, they noticed this. Here's a nice picture of 4 friends just hanging out, but there seems to be an extra hand. Look closely. Right there. Whose hand is that? And this one. Here was a woman standing where the plane hit on 9/11. She was on one of the top floors, and apparently, she survived, but no one knows how.
Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. When him and his friend were in middle school, they told everybody in school that they were going to host a carnival, and everyone was hyped. Well, the day of the carnival came, and these guys built the most rigged carnival games ever. I mean, carnival games are already rigged, but these guys made it completely worse. Like for ring toss, the rule was you had to stand 20 feet back. During the carnival, they made about $350. But soon after it started, most people realized that this whole thing was a scam, and they left. But hey, $350 ain't bad. Candy products that were banned. This is called the Hippie Sippy, and it was released in the 1960s. It's a candy product meant to poke fun at the hippie and drug culture. Well, almost immediately after it was released, thousands of people became severely offended. This candy came with a syringe that's supposed to look like heroin, and these tiny candies that are meant to look like pills. The outlash was so bad that they stopped making the Hippie Sippy altogether. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. At this kid's school, students are not allowed to chew gum. And if they're caught chewing gum, it's an automatic 3-hour Saturday detention. That's a little intense if you ask me. But then, because of COVID, the school required students to wear masks all day. And then, he had a brilliant idea. He started selling gum. Every day, he came to school with his backpack stocked of every single flavor of gum. Pina colada, watermelon, blue raspberry, classic bubblegum, mint, cinnamon, you name it. And he sold students 2 pieces for $1. And because of the masks, it's hard for teachers to see who's chewing gum. However, 3 students have been caught so far, but luckily they didn't snitch. So far, he's made $120. Nice. Black markets kids ran in their schools, a follower submission. When he was in middle school, the school had vending machines, but the stuff inside them was very expensive. So he had an idea. He bought a bunch of random snacks for cheap at a store like Costco, and he sold them at school for less than the vending machines would sell them. Business was booming. After a month of doing this, he made around $260. But then he got another idea. Finals were coming up, and everyone in his grade would take the same final for every class. What he did was he took the snacks he had, separated them, and in tiny writing, he wrote important study guide questions and answers on the back of the snacks near the nutrition label. Now, he did this because the school allowed people to have snacks during tests. Everyone wanted to pass their finals, so once again, his business was booming. The teachers never found out he did this, and by the time finals were over, he made another $500. Most dangerous toys of all time. These are snack bracelets, and I'm sure everyone has seen these before. Well, in 2012, a large batch of cheaply made snap bracelets were recalled because the metal in the bracelet was wearing through the fabric and cutting the hands of many kids. They have since improved the design, but every so often, this still happens. So be careful. Worst teachers of all time. A teacher at a school in Florida had a very specific way of disciplining students. If any student in this teacher's class would act up, the teacher would put a dog cone around their neck for the remainder of the class. She called it the
Cone of Shame.
Some students said that she would even make kids wear it just for fun, even if they did nothing wrong. Well, eventually the school officials found out, and they fired this teacher. Black markets kids ran in their schools, a follower submission. He is currently in middle school, and he says he's a very smart student. So he had this idea, basically a homework answers subscription service. He charged $2 a week for basic homework answers and $4 a week for honors homework answers. He made a private Snapchat account, and once people pay, they're added to this Snapchat account where he posts the homework answers. And if people stop paying the weekly fee, he kicks them off the account. So far, he's made $300, and he has no plans of slowing down. The worst teachers of all time. At a school in New Jersey, a 5th grade student accidentally spilled water on the ground. The vice principal of the school then forced him and 14 other students to eat their food off of the ground, while other students taunted them. A teacher of the school found out what was going on and told the students to tell their parents. Vice principal found out that the teacher snitched and then fired the teacher. But parents of the children that were forced to eat food off the floor sued the school, and they made bank. The vice principal was then never seen again. Black markets kids ran in their schools, a follower submission. When this kid was in 6th grade, he asked his teachers if he could get paid to clean up gum from under desks and chairs. They said sure. So he was getting paid $5 every time he cleaned up gum. Well, the principal found out about this and asked him if he could clean up the gum from under the tables in the lunchroom. He said sure. It was a nice little side hustle, but then he had a brilliant idea. He was gonna start selling gum. So he started buying these packs. This one's only $5 from Target. It's 8 packs with 15 pieces of gum in each pack. That's 120 pieces of gum, and he sold each piece of gum for 50 cents. He was making $60 after selling one whole thing of gum. But here's the kicker. Every time he sold somebody a piece of gum, he asked them when they were done with the gum if they could put it underneath desks or the lunchroom tables. So he would have to clean up the gum more often and make even more money.
চিঠিটা আমি লিখছি তোমার জন্য।
কার্ডের কথাগুলো তুমি লিখছো? হ্যাঁ, আমি লিখেছি, কিন্তু কথাগুলো আমার না।
মেয়েটা দেখছিস?
কোন মেয়েটা?
তোদের বাসার দোতলায় আসছে।
মা, মোম দিয়ে যাও না। আরে আসতেছি রে বাবা। আপনার গান শুনে ছাদে আসলাম। আপনি গিটার বাজান বল।
কি দিল এটা? 100 টাকা? আমি তো চাইছিলাম।
তোর মন খারাপ এটা তুই কি আসার আগেই জানতুই না আসার পর জানছস? আমার মনে হয় আমি জানি স্পেশাল মানুষটা কে।
আরে রূপা না, আছে অন্য কেউ।
তোমাকে কিন্তু আমার অনেক ভাল লাগে আপু, কিন্তু তোমার ভাইটা না কেমন জানি। তোমরা 2 ভাই বোন, নিজের ভাই বোন, কিন্তু দুজনের না কোনো মিলই নাই। কই, সবাই তো বলে মিল আছে। দাদা বাড়িতে ঈদ না করলে মজা হয় বলেন?
এখানে অনেক মজা হবে।
দাদা বাড়িতে
ভাই আপনি নিয়ে আসেন, আমি আপনার 500 টাকায় দিব, ঠিক আছে? ঠিক আছে তো? হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, তাহলে নিয়ে আসবো না কিন্তু। ঠিক আছে ভাই।
তুমি দুনিয়ার কিনা, তাই তো আমার সন্দেহ। মনে হচ্ছে বেহেশত থেকে হুড়পুরি নেমে আসছে।
কার্ডের কথাগুলো তুমি লিখছো? হ্যাঁ, আমি লিখেছি, কিন্তু কথাগুলো আমার না। আচ্ছা শোনো না, আমি তোমার জন্য একটা ঈদ কার্ড বানাইছি, আমি বাসা থেকে নিয়ে আসি। তুই বানাইছিস?
আমি চাইনি তোমার মন খারাপ হোক।
এইটা এখন আমাকে বিশ্বাস করতে হবে। তোমার ভাইয়ের যে একটা বন্ধু আছে না, অয়ন ভাই, উনি অনেক চালাক আছে, অনেক স্মার্ট। এই আপু আপু আপু, শুনো শুনো শুনো, তুমি রাগ করলা?
তুমি যদি একটু পড়ো।
আপনাকে ঈদের শুভেচ্ছা।
ধন্যবাদ।
টপো দাঁড়া।
মেয়েটা দেখছিস?
কোন মেয়েটা?
তোদের বাসার দোতলায় আসছে।
মা, মোম দিয়ে যাও না। আরে আসতেছি রে বাবা। আপনার গান শুনে ছাদে আসলাম। আপনি গিটার বাজান বল।
কি দিল এটা? 100 টাকা? আমি তো চাইছিলাম।
তোর মন খারাপ এটা তুই কি আসার আগেই জানতুই না আসার পর জানছোস?
সাদা ওড়না, কপালে ছোট্ট একটা টিপ, রোদের আলো।
এদিকে আয়, তুই আয়। আরে
আজ বেলাতে তোমার সুরে সুরে।
এই বিকেলে মাঠে আসবি তো? ফয়সাল আসছিল, ঈদের পরে কক্সবাজার যাওয়ার প্ল্যান করতেছে।
এই তোর ছাদে যেতে হবে কেন?
ও মা, কারেন্ট নাই, ঘরে কি করব? আর কি সুন্দর জ্যোৎস্না রাতে। এখানে ওস্তাদজির কাছে ভর্তি হয়েছি, পরশুদিন থেকে শিখতে যাব। আর আপনি এখন বানায় বানায় বলতেছেন আমার জন্য সাপোর্ট করছেন, এটা আমাকে বিশ্বাস করতে হবে। জীবন নেও না, আমি বিশ্বাসই করব না।
কেন আসছিস?
এমনিই আসছি। কেন, এখানে কি আসা যাবে না? নিষেধ আছে?
তোমার নাকি মন খারাপ?
আপনি আমার সাথে মজা করছেন?
না না,
কার্ডের কথাগুলো তুমি লিখছো? হ্যাঁ, আমি লিখেছি, কিন্তু কথাগুলো আমার না। আচ্ছা শোনো না, আমি তোমার জন্য একটা ঈদ কার্ড বানাইছি, আমি বাসা থেকে নিয়ে আসি। তুই বানাইছিস?
আমাকে সালাম করলে আমি দিতে পারি।
দেখা যাবে। Recent and interesting experience in this country. Bangladesh is land of rivers, so it's not. আপনি গতকাল রাতে আর্জেন্টিনাকে সাপোর্ট করছেন। আপনি না
তোমার জন্য?
জানেন, আমার না উপহার দিতে খুব ভাল লাগে।
আর উপহার পেতে?
সেটা তো আরো ভাল লাগে।
আমি মিথুন রাশি, ও মিথুন রাশি।
তো
ও আর্জেন্টিনা সাপোর্ট করে, আমি আর্জেন্টিনা সাপোর্ট করি।
একজোড়া ঝুমকা।
ঝুমকা? হঠাৎ ঝুমকা কেন?
আমি না এত সুন্দর কার্ড কখনোই দেখি নাই। আচ্ছা এত সুন্দর কার্ড ওয়ান ভাই কই থেকে পাইলো বলেন তো?
কিন্তু আমি যেদিন তোমাকে ঝুমকা পরিয়ে দেব সেদিন তুমি চোখে কাজলও পরবে।